Here's Frank Corrado, TSN hockey analyst and former Vancouver Canuck. How are you, Frank?
I'm good. What's going on, boys? How we doing?
Well, just dealing with
reeling.
another Thatcher Demko injury, Frank. It's almost like we've done this story before.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, when you have a chronically injured player, particularly when that player is an important piece of the team, like a starting goaltender, it doesn't have to be, you tell me, what does that do for a room?
Well, I'll tell you more what it's like to be the chronically injured player. Like that's who I was, right? I wasn't looking at, well, who's so and so who's hurt all the time towards, from the time I got to Pittsburgh on, from that point till I finished my career, I was the chronically injured guy. And the biggest issue that you have now is you're almost wired to look for the next injury or look for the next piece of pain. And it's almost like you can never get ahead of it. That's the mental part of it. But the physical is that physically you're actually hurt. Like you're getting banged up and it's keeping you out of the lineup and it's not allowing you to get ahead of it with your body. And that's such a frustrating thing. That's the number one emotion that you feel is just, no matter how much work you put in, no matter how much effort and preparation you're just so frustrated by the fact that this is something that feels like it's out of your control and you can't grab a hold of it. And as far as the players around you, you look at them and you're like, I'm not just like, I'm letting them down as well, especially when you're a guy like Demko, who's a massively important piece to the puzzle for Vancouver, and they rely on him so heavily, even though like Lankinen is a more than capable backup goaltender, and trust me, gets paid more than your normal backup goaltender in the NHL. Demko is still, that much more of a difference maker. So it's frustrating all the way around. Like, guys feel for you, but at the end of the day, they got to focus on what they have to focus on, and they can't necessarily worry about it. You'll do your work and you'll try and get back, and hopefully when you get back, you stay back. But it's a really tough situation all the way around.
Frank, how they tell us this is a separate injury for Demko, and it was not related to whatever kept him on the shelf this past weekend.
Eye roll is free with that one.
But but the gray area might be compensation injuries, yes. Frank. Yeah. Like, talk to me about like how attuned are NHL teams, trainers, doctors, players to, okay, that might be feeling better, but you're susceptible to a compensation injury if you go back too soon.
So you don't know until you start to feel something, right? Like I can tell you firsthand that I had an ankle injury, like a really bad high ankle sprain, like a grade 3 high ankle sprain. And as I was rehabbing it, I realized as I'm doing all these exercises, I'm causing a lot of strain onto my knee for some reason. Like I was just, there was the compensation that happened, and like my patellar tendon started hurting, and all of a sudden I had to deal with that as I'm dealing with the ankle injury. And then if you work your way up the chain, I tore my ACL. And so as I'm coming back from my ACL, my hip started bugging me on the same side, because it just goes all the way up. And that's the issue that you run into, is all these different compensatory patterns. You guys like that word, I'm sure. I don't know how I got that out, but all those different patterns just start to go, and then you're trying to untangle it all, but at the same time, something else is happening. So it's a very frustrating thing, because you're working on something else flares up and pops up, that becomes a thing. And so, teams are better equipped for it nowadays, because they, like, if you're on the ice, especially, you wear these, like, it's almost like a bra, like a male bra, if you want to call it that.
A man's ear.
It's a bro. It's a man's ear. Yes. As Frank Costanza once coined the term, with like a chip in the back. Actually, Blake, you would know these things really well from soccer. It's the catapults, right? Yeah, exactly. And so it can track if you're using your right leg too much compared to your left leg, and if you like where you are on the pitch or on the ice, and where your patterns are kind of failing, so they can forecast these types of things. But you can't necessarily do it in the gym, because in the gym you're just doing the patterns, you're doing the motions, you're doing the exercises. So it's tough. It's tough to get ahead of these things. They're better equipped than they ever have been as far as the on ice stuff, but it's always going to be there, man. It's always going to be there. Like the body kind of remains undefeated when it comes to breaking down at times.
Well, that's the worry for a guy like Demko, who suffered so many injuries now, and for a goalie in particular, Frank, because we know goalies are under such physical duress as it is. They're in a lot of unnatural positions. Like we've seen players shirk injury-riddled years, like blocks of their career, and then have 5 years where they play 78 games or more. I don't know that I trust that can happen for Thatcher Demko. Am I wrong?
It's tough, man. Like, I think back at guys that were super injured in the early goings of their careers and then like found a way to get through it and played a bunch afterwards. The name that always comes to mind is Gary Roberts, right? Like Gary Roberts was, he had back issues and he's just become the go-to guy for health and performance within the game. But he seems like an anomaly to a lesser extent. Like, I remember when Cal O'Reilly, this is, minor league stuff, but I think it's relevant here. Cal O'Reilly, who was our captain in Utica, he came over from the KHL, and he had years where like his back was really bad. And I remember him using that heat pack every single day and seeking out treatment and, was seeing specialists. And he went on to play, like he just stopped playing. He's still playing this year. He's playing in Switzerland. He just stopped playing in the American Hockey League, meaning he was on the bone rattler, putting on the miles this entire time, where to give you an idea of how long that is, I played with him, played in the NHL, left the NHL, went to Sweden, went to the KHL, retired from hockey, started a new career, got married, had 2 kids, and this guy's still playing hockey, which is crazy. So Chris
Tanev, guys. Chris Tanev, in the last 6 seasons, has missed 30 games, an average of 5
Very
per
healthy.
year. Yeah.
Very healthy. You know what Tanev did? Like, I remember talking to Tanev about this is, he kind of did some training where they were almost using like his eyes to realize where are your blind spots in a game, because you guys know Tanev, he was getting smoked going back for pucks constantly. But credit to him, he would take those hits, he would make the plays, and he would get right back up. But eventually the wear and tear kills you. And he worked to eliminate a lot of these blind spots. And so, that's there are things that can be done. There are ways you can get through it. There are guys that have done it, but the sample size of guys that haven't been able to do it is way larger than the guys who have been able to do it. And that's always going to be like the percentages are working against you in a significant way.
Compensatory. If he keeps using words like that, we got to get him on a Scrabble board with Tanner Glass, huh?
We're going to need thesaurus is available for our listeners.
Canucks Scrabble champion Tanner Glass.
Never finished a USA Today crossword in my life. Tried. Never did it, though.
Never mind New York Times.
Do you know anything about Yuri Patera?
No, I know nothing about him. I wish I could give you more than that. He plays goaltender, and they need a goaltender.
He's going to have to play. Yeah, he is going to have to play. Did you also hear Tolapilo's hurt? They had to go to an e-bug on the road in Colorado on Friday. The Abbotsford Canucks. Oh yeah. They've been run out of goalies here.
With the losing, I don't know if you've heard, Abby's lost 11 straight,
including 7-0 yesterday.
11 straight, 7-0 last night. And the big club is doing what they're doing, which is to say they're still right near 500 at the very least. They haven't gone lower than that too much. But, like, does that start to permeate? Like, does the NHL club even know that Abby's lost 11 straight? Like, I just wonder, like, this team is acting like they are 0-11, even though they're not. That's sort of what it feels like.
You know what's funny? The only guys that will know that Abby has lost 11 straight is Wielander, Baines.
Yes, Carlson.
Here. Yeah, Carlson, Sasson, and maybe Ratsu, but probably not even him. Like, only the guys that have been in that mix this year. And so maybe because like they might be having conversations about it, other guys would know. But the guys that are like NHL regulars, they'll be like, whatever. Like, we got our own issues to deal with here.
Why do you think this team?
Say the least.
Why do you think this team is taking this? Not the injury. You can feel for Thatcher Demko, but they do have Kevin Lankin. Like, I don't think they feel like they're up shit creek without a paddle here. This team looks like they're 0-11, and they're 8-9-1. It's not good, but it's not the end of the why. And they weren't projected to be a Stanley Cup contender. Why do you think this team looks and acts like they are way worse than they are?
It's a good question. I think a lot of that comes down to is they've won games this season where their process, going back into the dressing room, and if those guys were having honest conversations, they probably would have said to each other, it's nice to win. It's great. But man, we didn't play great in that one. And I think constantly having that realization, just knowing that
even in the wins. Yeah.
Yeah. What if we didn't get the timely goal, or what if Demko didn't stand on his head? What does that look like? Right. Guys know, within 5 seconds of stepping off the ice, you're like, yeah, we got away with one there. Well, you got away with a few, and then the losses start to pile up, and you're like, yeah, the wins didn't feel that convincing. The losses suck because it always hurts to lose. And it's just the process, that's why it's a cliche that people talk about it, but it is true, right? If things look and feel good, but you don't get the result, you have a confidence and a belief that, we'll get there. We're doing all the right things. But when the result is there and all the things leading up to it are just meh and okay, and all of a sudden the results aren't there anymore, it doesn't feel great. And that's part of what's been going on with this team this season, and especially recently.
There are 2 more power play goals allowed last night. They're the worst penalty kill in the league. Yes, they missed Pius Suter, who was a primary penalty killer for them at forward last year, and of course a guy who could take draws. And yes, they missed Eric Forbert, who was very good on their PK last year. But it can't just be the missing personnel to be that bad. Where are they going wrong on this penalty kill that's the league worst now?
It has to be a little bit of the personnel too, like Teddy Bluger, he's not around either.
Fair enough.
Right? So when I kind of think okay, you have guys that are good at penalty killing, and it is an art. There's a reason why guys stay in the league for a long period of time, and eventually, carve out a certain niche, because penalty killing is one of those things, and you take away that much personnel, it's hard, and you might not have the guys that are ready to step into those roles. As far as what's going on with the Canucks right now, always seems to be the case, goaltending needs to be a difference maker on the penalty kill. Winnipeg, who was in town last night, they have had a very good penalty kill this season, statistically. Underneath the hood, if you kind of peeled it back, the shots and the chances that they have given up shorthanded are huge, massive. But Hellebuck has been incredible, especially shorthanded. He's been their best penalty killer. So that's one thing. The other thing, it's just it's similar to in Ottawa right now, where their penalty kill is a mess. And it's crazy that Vancouver is now worse than Ottawa, because it's been a mess there. And everyone just has to be working on the same page. So if one guy's going to apply pressure, second guy has to be going to apply pressure, third guy has to be going. If one guy goes, or just 2 guys go, it's easy to break out of that little area, and then bang, it's coming with a clear lane, and you can't even talk about getting in shot lanes because you're not available to, because you're guarding against passes and backdoor plays. So that's there's never just one thing. It's personnel, it's goaltending, it's being on the same page, and it's tough. But I always, I do believe this about penalty killing. It's easier to figure out a penalty kill because there's less skill involved than a power play.
Yeah.
Right? At the end of the day, guys can will themselves to having good penalty kills.
Yes.
And you get a little bit of luck along the way. You have to get to that point, and it's not there right now.
That being said, with all this talk about second-line centers, do they now need to think about going to get a utility knife? Teddy Bluger tried to come back. We haven't seen him now for days again. And tried to come back to practice even. And he made a couple of appearances, and now he's gone again. Do you need to go get Teddy Bluger back up here on the trade market. That's easier to find, presumably, but you still have to pay and still find the right guy that has penalty-killing pedigree.
You know what you need right now, and this, I don't know, maybe this is a hard conversation for people in Vancouver to have, is you need to realize that you're the 28th best team in the NHL.
Yep.
And if you're going to throw more stuff at the wall to see what sticks and spend more capital, is that getting you anywhere? Like sustainably, long term? That's the conversation that really needs to be had in Vancouver. What happened 2 years ago was awesome, and it felt like you could build off it. And last year went completely sideways on you. And now you're waking up today on November 12th, and you're seeing what's happening around you, where, Chicago's played really well, and they're taking a jump. And Anaheim is one of the most exciting teams in the NHL. And a lot of the same characters are still around, whether it's Vegas or LA or Edmonton, and Utah's grabbing a hold of things. And you're like, where does that leave Vancouver? Are they one piece away? Are they a second line center away? No. Are they another penalty killer away? No, but it's a harsh reality. And it's been talked about for over a decade in Vancouver, where the team needs to go.
We all know the answer to that, Frank, but
we know the answer.
The owner's different.
Here's what we got to do.
I'm talking into the void right now, and you guys do the same thing, and we all know it.
We've got to organize a summit between Francesco Corrado and Francesco Aquilini.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't want anything to do with that.
He might listen to you, though. He might listen to you.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know, but okay. So that's the
Frank.
I guess, bigger picture.
Let me just address what you said. You're 1,000,000% right, and more fans think that every season. We've been talking about this for 12 years on this program. Mm-hmm. We've been on this program for 14 years. Most of them have been spent talking about, okay, like you have to give up the ghosts of 2011, 2012, or more recently 2 seasons ago, as you mentioned, and understand what those are and what those aren't, and manage to a brighter day with a long-term goal and vision. And I think more and more fans are coming over to that side of the ledger. Until they stop going to Rogers Arena and paying their tickets, I'm not sure it's going to resonate.
There's never been more tickets available on Ticketmaster on a nightly basis.
Yeah.
So
it could happen accidentally. Here's the crazy thing. Like, it could just happen accidentally.
Well, injuries are the one way to make that happen. Yeah, but injuries are the one way to make that happen, right? If everybody's out with injury, I mean, you're just going to be naturally shitty.
And how crazy is it that, in a game where Quinn Hughes looks like he gets hurt, he leaves for a second, gets 3 assists. He played 28 minutes last night.
Yeah, and it was awesome.
He was great.
I mean,
one of his best games of the season.
He comes back in the third period, and he starts dancing off the blue line. I'm like, look at that. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, it was – he's a phenomenal talent. And listen, in theory, I totally get it, right? Number 1 goalie, number 1 D-man, you think number 1 center, although like that's very much up for debate on any given night. But it's you got to have a whole team around you, and you got to have something that can sustain itself every single year. And I know we've talked about this a million times, and you guys have talked about it a million times. To answer your question, Blake, no, I don't think you just go out there and get a penalty killer at this point. I think you got bigger picture philosophical stuff you need to answer.
You're marvelous. Thank you for this. You have a great week. Enjoy Montreal, Dallas there, and we'll catch up in 7 days' time.
All right, boys. Have a good one.
Thank you, Francesco.